Tonight I'm on a mission. I'm off to do something different, a different style of photography than what I've really done in the past, or a different genre of photography. Basically, I'm back at the coast, and this coastline here has quite a number of caves. They're very hidden, they're quite difficult to get to, and they're places that not many people go to because they are so difficult to reach. I've been there a few times just exploring in the past, but I've never been there to do photography. I have done a few shots in caves in the past, but nothing that exciting or, you know, proper cave photography. But tonight, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm super excited for this because, like I say, it's something quite new, something quite different. And I've also got an ultra wide angle lens with me, which I got when I got my new, not that new now, but my Z6 camera. And I've yet to decide what to use it for, because to me it's slightly too wide for landscapes, but for internal things like caves, I think it's going to be fantastic. So super excited to try that out. Let's head down and let's find these caves. Let's do some photography. We've almost arrived at cave number 1, which is known as Sculpture's Cave. Now, like I say, very few people come down here. It's actually very dangerous to get down here, but I've been down here once or twice in the past, and I've wanted to come back down for years with the camera. It's a stunning location, and basically this cave has so much hidden secrets to it. This cave and the one that we're going to next, I believe there was a lot of human remains found in these caves when they excavated them many years ago, and these caves have actually featured on a few TV programmes because of the discoveries. You know, people that do archaeological digs and look into, you know, the history of our ancestors and stuff like that. And one of the caves over here was full of, I believe, human skulls, and they believe that one of these caves was potentially used for rituals. So they don't know whether it was people that had died, they'd take their bodies here, put their heads on stakes, sorry for the graphic details, or whether it's people that were ill or had been ill to try and like cleanse their bodies, I suppose. But I remember watching a TV programme once about it, and the furthest away skull that was found in this cave, or bone remains, they believe comes from a part of Ireland, which is pretty far away given in the olden days there wouldn't have been the same transport that you have nowadays. So these caves obviously had some serious importance back in the day, and that makes them really, really exciting. So I'm going to go in them, take some photographs, and see what we can discover. Well, this is really cool. Being in these caves, you can barely hear the sea when you're in here, which is a little bit eerie, but it's also quite nice because you're kind of tucked away from the elements and, you know, sheltered. And I don't know, there's something really magical about caves like this. But they are, my goodness, they are incredibly challenging for photography. So this one we're in just now, Sculptor's Cave, it's got 2 doors basically, or 2 open ways coming into the cave. And because of that, in some ways it's nice because you get this natural light streaming through the caves, which illuminates a lot of the graffiti and writing on the walls, as well as the interesting shapes and that, which is really, really nice. But it also means that you're battling against that contrast of really bright highlights and really dark shadows within the cave, which makes it a very challenging sort of situation to do photography. So I've probably spent about the last 20 minutes or so trying to get images here, and I'm finding it very difficult. It takes it a while for your eyes to adjust to the cave, and then as you're looking out to go back out again, you're getting blinded. It's yeah, a real challenge, but I've taken a few images of the cave, both in extreme wide angle as well as sort of a more normal focal length, you know, about 25mm, which is allowing for a good variety, both showing the exaggerated scale of the cave as well as a more natural looking scale of it as well. But a real challenge, I've got to say. This is just one of 2 caves that we're going to tonight, and apparently the next cave is better. I've never been to the next cave, so I'm not going to spend any more time on this cave, I don't think. I might get 1 or 2 images of the opening of the cave, but apart from that, I'm sort of using this cave as a bit of a tester before we move on to one that's apparently better. So yeah, I'll show you the photographs I've taken in here so far, if I haven't already, and then we'll head on to the next one. One thing I have never done is sort of photo blending, because I don't use Photoshop, and I also like to spend as little time editing as possible. But I remember watching one of Gavin Hardcastle's videos, I think it was during lockdown, and he was in a cave system, I believe over in Canada, with his stalker, and he was taking photographs of her in the cave, and he took multiple exposures, multiple shots, and then blended them together in Photoshop, I believe it was, when he got home, so that he had the really big highlights of the scene outside the cave, you know, showing, as well as the dark shadows and everything within the cave. So I've just been taking a couple of images here with a really bright opening in the cave, you know, a very quick shutter speed, so that I've got that, I can see it really well, and then I've been taking a slightly longer shutter speed in the cave with me standing looking out to the sea. So I'm going to try for the first time ever to blend them together, and if all goes to plan, you will see that image in a second. I think it's quite nice to challenge yourself and try something new, and while I'm not really into doing a lot of editing and I'm not really into Photoshop, I'm more just a Lightroom kind of person, I think it's you know, it's nice to try these things sometimes. And in situations like this where you're battling that extreme contrast of shadows as well as very bright highlights, sometimes photo blending, I think, is the only way really to do it. So it's about time that I did it, especially trying something new like this, and I hope you like my first attempt. Wow. Wow. So when I got here, I was a bit like, this cave isn't one that you go into. I thought it was going to be a cave that you were in, you know, in the darkness like the last one. And I was a bit like, oh, how am I going to get a shot of this? But then when I came into the cave itself and looked back at the opening, it's absolutely incredible. The scale of this place is insane. Let's get the camera out. So because this isn't a cave, like it's not one that goes really deep into the rock and there's not much light coming in, I've been really trying to get creative and tell a story with the images I've been taking here. And I think by including myself in the frame, it's really allowing me to do that because it's showcasing the scale of this cave. Like, unlike the cave we were at previous to this, which was big and it was spectacular, this one is such a vast, open, massive cave with these stunning shapes in the rocks and the side of the cave that I really want to show off. So what I've been doing is sort of stepping back with my wide angle lens on and framing the opening to the cave. I took a few shots of me in the opening of the cave, which I'm not sure if I like very much because I'm very, very small, but it shows the scale of the cave. And I've just taken a few shots that I'm going to call isolation or loneliness as the title of the image, which is me sitting on some rocks looking out of the opening to the cave and being the only person here, in the image anyway, which shows like isolation, loneliness, and being in this like old cave as well. It's almost like, I don't know, you get that feeling I guess when you're here of that sort of detachment, of being a bit isolated from the world. And I think it's quite nice actually if you can include people in your image, whether it's yourself or somebody that's with you, to portray emotion. I think it's a really good way to add to your images, especially doing stuff like this where adding that human element really adds the scale and the depth to an image. Creating that emotion with it works really well as well. So yeah, like I said, that image is going to be entitled Isolation or Loneliness, and I'll show you it now. I've actually just had a thought. I mean, it's a bit of a depressing thought in some ways, but because so many of us have obviously been in lockdown this year and been confined to our houses without seeing friends and family, this image I think portrays that really well. It's kind of going back to caveman days, being in a cave and being like almost locked in your house, but you can see the outside world, see everything that's going on, and that longing to be out there. It's an emotion that I think we've all felt this year during the COVID situation we've all been in, but I think it's quite fascinating to actually be in a cave and think back to cavemen days and the cavemen in these caves sort of not really knowing what's going on out there, not knowing the danger out there, you know, of predators and all that that they would have had to deal with. It's very similar, I think, to the situation we've been in this year, like I say, but we've been hiding and shielding from a virus. But it's very fitting, I think, to what we've been going through this year. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been something a little bit different. I've thoroughly enjoyed coming out and exploring these caves. I mean, this one especially is just epic. And the fact that I've never been here before is just, it's crazy. It's crazy when you have amazing places like this so close to where you were brought up and you've never been to them. But it's been an absolute joy to come out tonight and have the privilege of exploring this. I hope the photographs turned out okay. Hope you enjoyed watching. And yeah, I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again next time. Sorry, I can't take my eyes off this cave. Oh, it's incredible.